What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here with the Irish Hotspur. It's been a minute since he's been on the channel. Good to have you, my friend. How you been, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad. Well, I was trying to enjoy the international break until you gave us a right walloping at Wembley and you were rubbing it in and others. And, the speculation that came about Ange, Postecoglou and the players. So I was trying to enjoy 2 weeks, but it got ruined, Ben.
Yeah, look, we'll leave the international break and Postecoglou to one side because today marks the 5-year anniversary of the Pochettino sacking, and what, in my opinion, is one of, if not the biggest mistake that Daniel Levy and ENIC has done at this football club. You could see what's happened since then. We've been in the absolute wilderness from Jose Mourinho to Nuno Espirito Santo, Conte, stints from Mason, Stellini, and now obviously we got Ange Postecoglou, which some would say is a step in the right direction finally with the brand of football at least that we're playing. But first of all, in hindsight, initial reactions to the Pochettino sacking, what did you think at the time? And has your mind been kind of solidified in the fact of what you were feeling at the time?
I thought they got it wrong at the time, to be quite frank with you. I thought, for me, it was clear that the project needed a rejuvenation. I think everyone knew once we reached the Champions League final, there was going to have to be significant investment into the squad to help kick it on. And I think some of the signings we made that summer transfer window, the likes of Ndombele, Lo Celso, players like that, didn't really come in and do what we were expecting them to do or really help the squad push on. And then because results weren't going our way in the Premier League, we ended up sacking Pochettino. And I was quite surprised at the time. I thought, they should have stuck it out. It was always going to be a difficult sort of transition season, and we're paying the price for it now, Ben.
Yeah, and you look, he did finally get investment in that summer in what you're saying. And yeah, fine, the players that were brought in were not the right players for the project or any project at Tottenham, let's be real. But, he goes a season unbeaten at White Hart Lane, Spurs' best season ever in a Premier League campaign. And then he gets no signings whatsoever in that summer. The first Premier League team ever to do that in the Premier League era. I mean, this guy normalised overachieving, didn't he? And if I could have him back, I'd have him back in a heartbeat. I'm telling you, I think Pochettino, when you're looking at the managers that have been through the door, pure winners have come through the door, but no one has been able to, first of all, get the fan base as much as he got it. Be a Spurs. I think that he was born for this role as Tottenham manager. I firmly believe that. I believe that then. I thought it was wrong time to sack him, and I thought it was craziness to sack him when we did. But he's a guy that normalised overachieving, and we haven't been able... What Daniel Levy relies on, what ENIC rely on, is for a manager to come in and completely overachieve. I think we were speaking about it on WhatsApp the other night, weren't we, about managers being able to overachieve. He's the only one that have been able to do that. And you look at the money that has been spent by this board over the course of the time since he's been sacked till this very day. I mean, why did we not give him that money to rebuild the squad, which he kept calling for?
Well, look, I think we pissed about with 300-400 million under Steve Hitchen. I think Paratici era was going well, the Paratici-Gabbiadini era. And I think then this summer we changed tack and went to Rob McKenzie and Johan Lang. And I think we're paying the price for it now, what we didn't do in the summer. All that money could have went straight into Pochettino, and we could have really sort of kicked on. Well, I think we would have kicked on by now. We wouldn't be sitting here, wondering if this new Postecoglou is the right manager. Yet again, we're here every 14 to 16 months, and it's nowhere near good enough. One top four finish and one League Cup final since Pochettino, it shows that we got it wrong. It's a really bad reflection. But look, with Pochettino, we got him on the rise. Coming to Tottenham Hotspur was a big job for him, but he also wanted to be here. Since then, we've brought managers in that maybe you'd question, do they want to be here? But Pochettino wanted to be here, and he was willing to work with Daniel Levy. And I think he had a great relationship. They spoke about going on holidays together and stuff like that. And part of me also thinks that Daniel Levy misses that, and I think he realises that he's made the wrong decision with some of the difficulties he's had with Conte and Jose Mourinho before that. Pochettino protected Daniel Levy a hell of a lot in the press with agreeing with the club strategies despite fans not agreeing with it and stuff like that. But I also think Pochettino came in here in sort of a blessed situation. We had a huge squad. We had so many players in and around the periphery. We had so many players that we were loaning out. And eventually, after about season and a half, he sort of found his squad and we really sort of kicked on. So he was blessed, but we never really invested. And he stood by the club. He went through White Hart Lane over to the crossover, into Wembley and stuff like that. And I just feel like we never really showed Pochettino the gratitude for that, because most managers wouldn't have stuck by Daniel Levy in them times in that process. And I just feel like Daniel Levy didn't really show Pochettino the gratitude that he really should have in that regard. But since then, we've got it wrong, Ben. I actually think when you look at it, I think we've hired great managers. Jose Mourinho has won everything in the game. Conte has won nearly everything in the game. Nuno, look what he's doing with Fulham now, or sorry, with Nottingham Forest, and the job that he done with Wolves was absolutely brilliant as well. And then you look at Postecoglou, despite people having their reservations, he's won everywhere he's been. Bringing the managers in here, we brought managers in with vast experience, the know-how, but yet it's gone wrong for them. And it's because Daniel Levy doesn't trust the managers to a certain extent that he's bringing in here. He's trying to pull the same tricks that he did under Pochettino, where he initially will invest in it, and then all of a sudden the next season, when it looks like we're on the periphery of pushing on or achieving, he sort of changed tacks in the transfer market. No, I'll dictate the players that are coming in here. You're working with this, this, and this, not what you want. And it's coming back to haunt us, and that's why we're in this situation every 14 to 16 months since Pochettino, Ben.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because I feel this way, do you feel like we are still kind of feeling the effects of sacking Pochettino? Because we were onto a good thing. Yes, I know the form under Pochettino in the last season and the back end of the Champions League final season wasn't good enough because the team needed investment at that time. But in terms of a manager that purely gets it and can completely overachieve, because you look at Conte and Mourinho, as much as they're brilliant managers, they need a specific player to really take us on, right? They need that. We needed three at the back. We needed strong defenders. We didn't get that. They had good attacks. They had Kane and Son in their pomp, but they need a specific set of caliber of players to go and do their job. They didn't get that. Whereas Pochettino, yes, he had a brilliant first 11 that he built, but he didn't have a good squad around it. And look what he achieved. Yes, he didn't bring a trophy, but we got to a Champions League final, consistent top four finishes, 3 cup finals in the space of time that Pochettino was here. Yeah, people blame him for not getting over the line in certain situations, which is fair enough. But I firmly believe that if he would have got the rebuild that he yearned for, he would have eventually got over the line. So do you feel like we are still kind of feeling the effects of that Pochettino sacking?
100% we are. Bar Kane and Son, a lot of the other players from the Pochettino era weren't having other managers at this football club, and that's simply because they couldn't form that relationship that Pochettino had with them. And then ultimately, a lot of them have been shipped on, and we're here now in a new era. But when it comes to Pochettino, he also needs a certain type of player. With Pochettino, we've seen at PSG, superstars aren't really having him and the demands that he places on the players. At Tottenham Hotspur, where he went right is, he sort of gutted all the old experienced players in there, with this saying, pissing about and stuff like that. And he brought in the likes of Rose, who was shipped around on loan, Kyle Walker, formed a nice young squad, players that were hungry to succeed. And this is where I think Ange is going wrong. He was the father figure for them. He was there to give them advice, life advice, football advice. Friends, they all speak about the relationship they had with him. When you look at Postecoglou and the way he manages, he stands out of the dressing room altogether. We've got a young enough squad now, and I think this is where Postecoglou should take something from Pochettino and become that father figure of the dressing room like he was. But we are definitely feeling the effects of not backing Pochettino at Tottenham. 100% we are. Like we're like I said, one top 4 finish and 1 League Cup final since, and it was Pochettino that brought the demands to the modern sort of day of Spurs, that we should be up there challenging, that we do deserve to be in the Champions League, that on our day we can get a good run, that we do deserve to be winning trophies, because he got us there consistently he got us there. And since then, what we're seeing is managers that are coming in here, Ben, and I'm of the opinion 16 to 17 months in this Tottenham job is not long enough for any manager coming in here to try and bridge that gap from where we are now to getting back to challenging. I do believe they need a little bit more longer. I think 2 seasons is really ideal, and then we can really start judging it and see where it's going. Pochettino got that time at Tottenham to be able to build it. And since then, because of the demands that he's brought, every manager is being held to that. But I think within that process, we're not recognising that, hang on, Pochettino was given time to build it. The manager before him that brought us onto a new level, Harry Redknapp, he was given time to build it to a degree. And I think what we're doing now with managers, we're sort of placing the demands that we had from Pochettino on them and not recognising that they do need time to build it. When you've got a new squad, leadership, all that sort of stuff, it takes time to really sort of come to the forwards. It's got to grow organically. At some point, players have got to get fed up with the inconsistencies, losings, and, grab that dressing room and start taking that leadership role within it. But that will take time, like it did under Pochettino.
Yeah. And I'm still like gutted about that era, man, because if I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit though, like, do you feel like as well, as much as Daniel Levy got lucky with the Pochettino hiring and the lack of investment and how well we actually did under Pochettino, do you feel like Pochettino also got a bit lucky because he didn't have to contend with Pep Guardiola's Man City and the kind of biggest teams in the league at the time maybe weren't at their strongest?
There was an element to that, that I think it was post Sir Alex Ferguson era there for a period, post Wenger, some of the big managers that had reins on the Premier League were gone. But some would argue it was opportunistic. Pochettino seen it, built a squad and ran with it and got us up there. So yes, you could argue that, timing was also right for Pochettino. But you look at it now, bar Man City, Liverpool are in a new era now. Man United are still there fumbling around. Arsenal have had time to get it together. We've missed that opportunity yet again to sort of be that team, to be in position to be able to challenge for when Guardiola leaves. You look at Man City now, his time's coming to an end. It's going to last a year to the end of this season, maybe 1 year after that. And we have to be in that prime position again where we've got talented players to pick from with the right manager that can then seize that opportunity and put us back up there.
And how do we get back up there now? Because obviously there's a lot of murmurings about Postecoglou at the moment. I agree with you. I mean, I think it's absolutely ludicrous to talk about sacking a manager right now, or rifts within the camp, or anything like that. I mean, I think it's absolutely ludicrous that stuff like that is coming out at the moment. Like, a manager needs time to imprint his ideas. And when I talk about time, I mean, like you said, I completely agree. 1 year, a year and a bit is nowhere near long enough, especially when you look at the mess that this club was in. I mean, Harry Kane got sold on the eve of his first season. I mean, Harry Kane was the heartbeat of this football club, The Harry Kane was the bedrock of what Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte, that Antonio Conte finishing fourth, in when he came in whenever it was, No manager would have lasted in this job without Harry Kane, where Postecoglou got us a point or something outside the top four in his first season. Yeah, fine. Results have been inconsistent and it's not good enough in terms of the results that we need to be getting and maybe the quality deserved. But I think Postecoglou, with the football that he's showing, he needs to be given time and he needs to be given kind of trust in the transfer market, not to bring in his second or third choices, to bring in players that command big wages and that are going to take us on to that next level. But all we're doing at the moment is Daniel Levy up to his old tricks, cutting the wage bill, bringing in players that are 18 years of age that probably can't take us on to the next level at this moment in time.
Well, I think that's where the biggest disappointment comes for me, Ben, because when you look at last season, the mess that we were in, when he came to Tottenham Hotspur, there was no leadership in the dressing room. And that was reflected by the amount of managers that you mentioned there, 6 in 5 years or something like that. The high turnover of players, any new players we were signing weren't really kicking on at Tottenham Hotspur, which shows the dressing room was in a mess, but also the leadership was in a mess. They didn't know what direction they wanted to take the football club in terms of project, transfers, etc., etc. I actually blame the turner. I actually put the turnaround in sort of players and, to more of a squad that is more technical based, down to Paratici. I think he was the one that implemented a lot of that big change at Tottenham Hotspur, identified a lot of the right players. But in the summer, I think we've seen the changeover from Paratici and Gabbanini to Johan Lang and Rob McKenzie. And I have a feeling that that Johan Lang cannot get deals done similar to Steve Hitchen. They'll come out and say all these, we want to go for here, and they blame other people. Paratici didn't do that. Paratici, no matter what, got the deals along the line, even if it was a buy now, pay later sort of process. And I feel like, bringing in a lot of the youngsters that we did, that's why we're sitting here where we are right now. Last season, we were inconsistent. The only improvement we've made is bringing in Dom Solanke, into the first team. Apart from that, what improvements did we make in other areas? Every single Spurs streamer, every single Spurs fan sat there in the summer and said, we need to buy leadership. We need to buy some experienced players to come in and provide real competition to really kick this on and bring a lot more consistency. And we didn't do it. Yes, I know people are going to say, but Dave Postecoglou came out and took ownership. But he's the only one that took ownership. He's taken ownership for a failed transfer window. Johan Lang is sitting there keeping his mouth closed. Daniel Levy's sitting there keeping his mouth closed, and so are the players. But no one can honestly sit there and tell me that Postecoglou said all last season, trying to change the press's narrative around Tottenham and talk about them, winning trophies and stuff like that, and said in the summer, yeah, bring me in a load of teenagers and we're going to kick on and I'm going to win you the Premier League. Somewhere along the line, behind the scenes, for me, I think Postecoglou's playing 5D chess and he's covering up for a really poor transfer window. And we're feeling the effects for it now. We really are. That's why we're more or less putting out the same 11 that we had last season. And should we expect any different? I don't think so. Like I said, the only change we made is Dominic Solanke. So what difference do we expect? And that's where I think everyone is putting everything on Postecoglou. But I feel like he's sitting there like last year. My hands are tied. What do you want me to do? I wanted options in here and I just don't have them.
Yeah, that's completely right. And I think you're looking at Postecoglou now. He is providing that shield for Daniel Levy, just like Pochettino was back then. But the only difference is that Pochettino had a much stronger starting 11 than what Postecoglou has now. I think that's the only difference. And I think both managers have the quality to take us on to the next level, but they need the tools to really help them do the job. And if you're just going to keep cutting the wage bill, you're never going to get to the promised land, and you're never going to get us taken on to the next level like we all want us to do. You're not going to get consistent top four bang 18-year-olds consistently. Like, you look at the squad right now, you look at the starting 11, Brennan Johnson, right? Brennan Johnson, I like him, but he's a squad player for what we want to be. He's not a starting player on a week in, week out. He's never going to take us on to the next level. And that's to do it, and that goes for players all over the squad. Sorry, Dave, you're about to say something.
No, you're absolutely spot on, but Ben, for me, I don't think the managers had a problem at Tottenham Hotspur. You see every single one of them walking away. Fans are calling them clueless. They don't know what they're doing. They're outdated. Their methods are outdated. Tactically, they're naive, this, that, and the other. And I'm absolutely fed up with it. Managers are not the problem at Tottenham Hotspur. The ownership is. Yes, we can sit here and say they invest money, but do they invest it in the right areas at the right times of what we need? Summer. You look at the 400 million spent on the Postecoglou, for instance. Okay, granted, that's a lot of money. But when you deep it, the Kulusevski money, Porro money is included in that, signed before he got here. And you've got the likes of Ashley Phillips, Feliz, Bergval, Archie Gray. So in essence, he's only actually had about 250 million that's actually been spent on the first team. Well, from where it was nowhere near enough, and it was always going to need more. So, from the outset, it looks like, oh, yeah, well, Daniel's done his job. He's backed the project. But has he actually backed the project? Like this summer when it was crucial for him to really back it, kick on, bring in the likes of your Eze, a proper number 6, a backup left-sided centre-back and a backup left-back to really compete the squad so that we have enough options to compete across 4 competitions. We didn't do it. We went and signed a load of teenagers. Now, I have no problem signing teenagers, but sign what you need to go alongside that. So, again, he just does enough to convince fans that we're on the cusp of success. But when we just about get those on a different tack, and then all of a sudden the manager's the one that takes the blame for everything, walks out the door, and we start fresh. I'm fed up of it, Ben.
Yeah, look, I think you're completely right, 100%, and everything about the wage bill it backs up with what you're saying. We sit sick. 2 million is our wage budget, right? 2 million is the outgoings, exactly the same as Aston Villa, just a tiny bit above Newcastle and West Ham. We sit below Liverpool, 2.5 million, Chelsea, 3.2 million, Arsenal, 3.3 million, Man United, 3.5 million, Man City, 3.8 million. And these are the people that we're supposed to be competing with. We're never going to compete with them if we don't push the boat out. And these players that you're talking about, the Eberechi Eze's, the Conor Gallaghers, these kind of players that Ange Postecoglou wanted to bring in the summer, the only reason they didn't come in the summer because Daniel Levy didn't want to pay the wages to bring in these caliber of players, and he'd rather bring in a Wilson Odebear, a Lucas Bergvall, and I've got Archie Gray, and I've got no problem with these players, but you have to bring them in alongside proven quality that can come in and make a difference right now. So back on the original point, we're still reaping the effects of the Pochettino sacking. It was, in my opinion, the biggest mistake ENIC have ever done, not giving the rebuild to him and keep hiring and firing managers, rebuild after rebuild, and new squad after new squad, and we just keep going in the same direction. So the way to make this right is to stick with Postecoglou and to back him with exactly what he wants.
Well, this is where Daniel Levy needs to show leadership from above. You know, we talk about inconsistencies at Tottenham. That's because he allows it to happen. The constant hire and fire policy of the manager and believing the players, he allows them to just crumble at every opportunity. This is where now he needs to come out and grab real. He wants to own the football club, go out and show leadership, put out a statement and say that you are backing Postecoglou, that he is the guy for the project. He's going to see out his 4-year contract. You got it wrong in the summer, and you're going to look to fix it going forward. But he's not going to do that. And the reason why? Because he does not want the pressure or to be able to commit the finance that it takes to deliver that success that Spurs fans want season in, season out. That's why he lowered the wage bill to make it more of an attractive opposition or proposition for investment rather than actually kick on the football pitch. When we were moving from White Hart Lane, do you know what? Fans bought it. And do you know what? A lot of most reasonable fans would understand it. We wanted a new stadium. We wanted to go into a new era. But now that that's been built, there is no excuses for it whatsoever. This guy is generating so much profit from every other sort of avenue you can think of. So there's no excuse for not backing the project on the pitch. Like even this over the international break, we get this whole rebranding fiasco. It's all about money. Nothing's to do with about kicking us on the football pitch. And the timing of it is just absolutely tone deaf. Put out a statement about, even addressing that the Football Insider rumors are fake. Put out a statement about that or something, not about the rebranding. Again, what chance do we have when everything around the football club that comes out is just tone deaf? I'm sick of it, Ben. I really am fed up. The ownership, he just does not want the pressure or to commit the finances to deliver success season in, season out. He doesn't want it. He's an accountant at the end of the day. He's trained about green numbers only. He doesn't want us to commit, going into the red to be able to bring trophies. It doesn't weigh up for him. He's not in Tottenham for a football venture. He's in it for a capital venture.
Yeah, 100%. And look, if that's where the heart and soul is of the football club, we're pretty much a portfolio business where we build hotels and F1 tracks and all this kind of stuff. That is at the forefront of this football club. And it seems as though the football is just a bit of a side piece, a bit of enjoyment on the weekend where people can come and eat their popcorn and watch a bit of football. And unfortunately, the sad case, that is where this football club is at the moment. And until football is put at the forefront of the business, I don't think anything is going to change under this ownership. That's the harsh reality.
Do you know what embarrasses me at times, Ben? They'll go out and they'll source the best musical acts, the best boxing fights they can put on. When it comes out to sourcing the best players, no, screw that. We'll bring you in the cheap ones.
Yeah, and as much as it pains me to say it, and as much as, me personally have kind of laid off the board over the past 18 months or however long it's been, I can't see a way out of this under this ownership. And unless they start changing their tact and really, because they have been backing it in terms of a monetary sense in terms of transfers, but that hasn't been backed up in the wages. And the wages, if you don't back it on the wages, this is what you're going to turn out, and this is what you're going to get. You're going to get subpar players that are not able to fight at the top of the league and are just about able to get into the Europa League. So look, it is what it is. That's where we're at the moment. Thank you, David, for coming on today. Please do go and subscribe to the Irish Hotspur. Once again, I reiterate, I think sacking Pochettino was one of the biggest mistakes this club has ever made. He is the guy that normalised overachieving and seemed as though the only person that could really work and get success under the constraints that ENIC put on each and every single manager at this football club. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. But once again, do go and subscribe to the Irish Hotspur. Great football Spurs content. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.